Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is September 21st, 2025, and we are in the New Testament book of Luke. We're going to read chapter 14 today. All right, so Jesus has been invited to a Pharisee's house for dinner, and there is a man there with dropsy, which would be edema, is what we would call it. He's retaining fluid and he's swollen. So a very physical illness, physical discomfort, not necessarily evil spirits. But it's the Sabbath day, and they're all looking to see, well, what's Jesus going to do with this sick person that he's here? And Jesus says, well, I'm going to heal him. That's what you do when you have somebody who's sick, you heal them. And they all take offense to that. And Jesus tells them, hey, you know what? If you had a donkey or an ox or an animal was sick or hurt or injured on the Sabbath, you would tend to it. Here's a human being, an image bearer of God, and he's sick, and I can heal him, and I'm going to heal him. And even though the Pharisees object to that, they're left speechless. They can't say anything. They understand that they're wrong, and they can't say anything to Jesus. Still angry, but then he tells a parable about the feast, because as he's watching these people come to this banquet that he's been invited to, he sees that they're all jockeying for that position next to the host, and he tells them, hey, you know what? That's pretension. Don't do that. When you're invited to a feast, don't sit down in that honored spot, because if that's not your spot, then they're going to come and tell you, hey, get out of here, and then you got to walk that walk of shame. So instead, go sit in the lowest spot. And then when the host comes, he's going to say, well, what are you doing sitting there, dude? Come on, you belong up here. And then you get to walk up there and go, oh, wow, that's nice. And everyone says, ooh, hey, look at that guy getting promoted. And he doesn't stop there, because then he's going to look at the guy that's hosting the feast, and he's going to say, you know what? You invited all these rich people, quid pro quo. You invited them, so you're hoping that they'll invite you back. That's not what you should have done. You should have invited people that really needed a meal and would have appreciated this meal. But you didn't do that. And then he goes into a parable of a great supper, big wedding feast. And we want to see that the first group of invited guests is Israel. And the king, of course, is God. And he's inviting them to his table. And they all said, oh, yeah, we'll come. This is great. And then the time comes that the second invite goes out of, okay, now the feast is almost here. Come on, let's go. And they're saying, well, I got this to do, and I didn't, So they start making excuses not to come. And the king says, well, if they're not going to come, go out into the city streets. Bring me the sick, bring me the lame, bring me the poor, whatever. Whoever you find, bring them in. So the lofty Israelites don't answer the call. And he says, well, bring me the poor Israelites. And someone comes and says, that's not enough. There's still plenty of seats. And he says, go out to the hedgerows and the fields. Go to the Gentiles. Bring them in. And they bring them in. And then there's the great feast. And then the rich people go, oh, hey, let us in. And it's like, no, you ain't coming in. You had your invitation. You didn't want to come. And he follows that up by Jesus giving us the cost of leaving and following him. That, hey, you know what? You got to be willing to give up everything. You got to understand that when you follow Jesus. I said a prayer, and now I'm a follower of Jesus. No, you have to understand that repenting that has to happen, that you have to change, that you have to give things up to follow Jesus. And you have to be willing to pay the cost. I'll pay any cost to be a follower of Jesus. Just like if you were a military commander planning a military assault, or you're going to build a big tower, is what our Bible says, you would sit down and figure out how much it costs, so you would know that you can complete it. And then he finishes up with this, talking about salt, and salt losing its saltiness, which we would not think would happen, because we buy those little blue containers full of salt, and when it rains it pours. But that's not the kind of salt they have. They have salt that comes from the Dead Sea. They let it evaporate until they get the salt. It's got all kinds of magnesium and gypsum and whatever other ipsums is that would come in impurities. And it's possible that after time the salt leaches away and you're left with nothing but the impurities, and that don't taste very good on your food. That's what he's saying. Hey, you know what? You are pure Christian followers of Jesus Christ himself. Be pure. Go out. Let's see. Let's pick it up in chapter 14 of Luke. Now it happened as he went into the house of one of the rulers of the Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath, that they watched him closely. And behold, there was a certain man before him who had dropsy. And Jesus answering spoke to the lawyers and the Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? But they kept silent. And he took him and he healed him and let him go. And then he answered them, saying, Which of you, having a donkey or an ox that has fallen into a pit, will not immediately pull him out on the Sabbath day? And they could not answer him regarding these things. So he told a parable to those who were invited. When he noted how they chose the best places, saying to them, When you are invited by anyone to a wedding feast, do not sit down in the best place, lest one more honorable than you be invited by him. And he who invited you and him who came and says to you, Give place to this man. And then you begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down in the lowest place, so that when he who invited you comes, he may say to you, Friend, go up higher. Then you will have glory in the presence of those who sit at the table with you. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Then he also said to him who invited him, When you give a dinner or a supper, do not ask your friends, your brothers, your relatives, nor rich neighbors, lest they also invite you back and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you. For you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the just. Now when one of those who sat at the table with him heard these things, he said to him, Blessed is he who shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. Then he said to him, A certain man gave a great supper and invited many, and sent his servant at supper time to say to those who were invited, Come, for all things are now ready. But they all with one accord began to make excuses. The first said to him, I have bought a piece of ground, and I must go and see it. I ask you to have me excused. And another said, I bought 5 yokes of oxen, and I'm going to test them. I ask you to have me excused. Still another said, I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come. So that servant came and reported these things to his master. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in here the poor, and the maimed, and the lame, and the blind. And the servant said, Master, it is done as you commanded, and still there is room. Then the master said to the servant, Go out into the highways and the hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. For I say to you that none of those men who were invited shall taste my supper. Now great multitudes went with him, and he turned and said to them, If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, in his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was not able to finish. But what king going to make war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes with 20,000? Or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and he asks conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land nor for the dunghill, but men throw it out. And he who has ears to hear, let him hear. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.